Yo guys, what's up? Today we're going to be looking at shrine mechanics and how they affect runtimes. So to kind of try and demonstrate this, I have picked out a few different logs and runs to showcase different situations in which you either gain a shrine, lose a shrine, or just maintain it. What does this actually mean? As most people probably know at this point, the Eidolon Shrine is on a 2-second rotation, which means you can only insert your shard every 2 seconds once. That also means that if you miss certain breakpoints regarding Terralist and Gantualist downtimes, then you will miss that shrine window or a possible shrine window, and then you'll have to wait either 2 seconds or at least a certain part of 2 seconds, like 1.5 seconds, for example, to reinsert your shard. Um, so right here I have the current world record run. This is the fastest run ever done. So we're gonna take a look at this one first to see how it looks like if everything goes right and the fastest possible shrine cycles attainable. Um, it actually doesn't. It's not just currently attainable. This is the fastest ones attainable pretty much. So first we have a tireless downtime of 122.958 with a cap shot of 28 milliseconds. This basically, as you can see, results in an 11.1 second shrine. So what some people might know is that the fastest possible shrine for Gantualist is 10.9 seconds, okay? So they saved themselves about 200 milliseconds here, and which means their theoretical latest downtime would have been about 122.15, right? Assuming a 28-second cap shot, because obviously the cap shot also has to be taken into account. So if your cap shots are slower, then your downtime needs to be faster in return. Then they managed to hit an extremely fast water limb of 288 milliseconds, which, in combination with very good limbs, resulted in a Gantualist downtime of 403.474. Again, with a cap shot of 24 milliseconds, very fast cap shot. And that gave them a 13.0 Hydralist Shrine. The Hydralist Shrine is pretty much exactly 2 seconds longer than the Gantualist Shrine. So the fastest possible Hydro Shrine would be 12.9 if you hit it perfectly. Which in return means again that they had about 100 milliseconds leeway on their Gantualist downtime, although I wouldn't be too confident in that because obviously this number is rounded, right? So this could be 12.95, in which case they would only have 50 milliseconds downtime. And yeah, and then once again, they had a very fast water limb with very good limbs, and that resulted in this current run. So this is the optimal scenario. We generally call these shrines just by the second part, so we call them 03, 05, 07, and so on. So yeah, let's look at the second log. This would be a more, let's just say, attainable run. This is on the second fastest shrine, the 405 shrine. This is the shrine that most people in the high-end speedrun community are aiming for in their day-to-day runs. So once again, we have a 122.9 downtime with a 48 cap shots in an 11-second shrine, which means we hit the first Terralist shrine. This is the fastest possible Terralist shrine, because you would have to be almost 2 seconds faster than this, and that's not possible. And then we actually hit a 405 shrine because the water limb compared to this run is just way slower, right? So that's 2 seconds lost. And yeah, it's 405.4. Once again, downtime with a 44 ms cap shot. And as you can see, this actually is in exactly a 12.9 second shrine. So this run barely hit the shrine breakpoint. So if this had been any slower in this run, the shrine would have probably been missed. And yeah, and then once again, just the Hydro doesn't really matter, right? at that point you're already on this shrine, and from this point on, it's only about hydro speed. Everything, any time gained or lost during hydro is real time gained or lost, while time gained or lost on Gangelist is not necessarily actually time gained or lost. Because, for example, on this, unless this water shield is 2 seconds faster than what it is here, it doesn't actually matter. So this can be a 1.4 water shield instead of a 2.4. And all that does is elongate this shrine by 1 second. So if this is a 1.4 water shield, then this shrine is 13.9 seconds. Just because this downtime would be 404, but that's not actually a breakpoint. As I said, as we shown previously, right, the breakpoint would be 403.4. So yeah, time lost on Gangelist isn't necessarily time lost. Same on Terralist, but time lost or gained on Hydrolist is real. So let's look at the run that is a bit where not everything went right. So as you can see, this actually had to go to the old meta because we don't have non-crits anymore in the current meta. But as you can see in this run, there's actually a non-crit on Terralist, which means the downtime of Terralist is 123.6. And remember how I said that the normal breakpoint is about 123.15 to 123.2? So this time it's 123.6, which means we actually just straight up missed the shrine and have to wait an additional 1.4 seconds to actually insert our shard. As you can see, it's a 12.3 second shrine when the fastest possible one is 10.9. And that's just because we're about 5 to 600 ms over the breakpoint. So we're just gonna have to wait a bit. And this also means that we're one shrine behind. As you can see, we have a faster water shield than in this run, but we actually have a slower downtime by almost 2 seconds. And then in this case, we're on the third shrine, or the third fastest possible shrine, which is the 07 shrine. Some people also call this the 53 shrine because this was generally the shrine that people were aiming for when 53 runs were the goal to hit. And yeah, and as I said, obviously time lost on Hydro is real time, right? So this 1.1 second limb that could have been 0.0 seconds is just straight up 1.1 second lost. Same with this 0.5 limb. And obviously, if the water shield had been faster, this could still be a way faster run. But as it is, this ends up a 6:54, which is still decent, but not anywhere close to record speed. Also important to mention, which is why I'm showing this run, as you can see, this is 6:46, but as you can also see, it's in the first run. And if you will notice, the first Terralist limb is 4 seconds earlier in the first run than on a normal run. As you can see, it's always about 31.2, 31.1, 31.3. In the first run, it's about 27.325. This is because the Terralist actually has spawn delay in a normal run when you load up into the plains while it's night. And that spawn delay is about 4 seconds. That spawn delay does not exist in the first run. The Terralist immediately spawns when it turns night. And that's the reason why we can have 4 seconds faster runs on run 1 than in any other run. So as you can see, this is a 6:46. And this almost hit the 01 shrine that doesn't usually exist. Or rather, this can even hit one shrine faster. Because we're still losing some time here, right? It's still a 6:46, even with a 3-second water limb. And that just means that if this, let's say this water limb had been 1 second, this could have actually been a 6:44. But let's say this water limb had been similar to this, right? Then it might be possible to actually hit a 3:59 shrine, and then you could hit a 6:42 first run, which would be 4 seconds faster than this, right? 6:46 is the fastest possible normal run. 6:42 would be the fastest possible first run. I've only seen that once, I think, in one single log. The fastest otherwise I've seen is 644. And that would happen if you have a very fast hydro water in this case, but it's just a normal one, so it's a 646. Now, people get very hyped about these pink run numbers in the first run, but you have to remember that you have to add 4 seconds to compare it to a normal run. So this would actually be a 650.7, which is still a very fast run, but nowhere near 646 speed-wise, obviously. So yeah, here's another example of a run where not everything goes right. So first of all, there's a non-crit or a 0 on terror list, which means we're already losing the first run because it's a 123.8 downtime. So we're about 0.6, 0.7 seconds off the fastest possible run. And that means we're losing about 1.3 seconds on the shrine because of that, or just waiting on the shrine to reactivate. And then you can see it's a 407.6 downtime because there's also been a, I don't know what happened here, it's just something went wrong, and it's a 0.4 limb. And that means we have a 0.6 downtime. And this downtime is too slow to actually still hit the Hydro Shrine, which means we have a 14.7 second shrine, which is almost the longest possible Hydro Shrine. The longest possible one is 14.9, at least that I've seen. But yeah, those are that's sadly too slow in this case. So you're waiting almost a full 2 seconds in this case, which can feel like ages when you're just sitting on shrine and nothing is happening. Lastly, I want to be talking about the importance of FPS, because the higher FPS you have, the faster your shrine activates. That means two things. First of all, it means if you want to push for record pace runs, you need really high FPS, at least 200, probably more. In return, it also means if you're playing on a host that either has very high or very low FPS, you need to hit faster downtimes on a higher FPS host than on a lower FPS host. So let's just keep these logs in mind. Yes, we have a 407.6 downtime that didn't actually hit the shrine. We have a 405.4 downtime that just barely hit the shrine, just about perfectly. Any faster than this, and probably with a 44-second capture, obviously. So this could be a bit faster, but that barely hits the shrine. And now we look at this log. And this log is a 0.6 downtime on a low FPS host. And it still hits the shrine rather comfortably. And this is because this host has significantly less FPS than 200 or 250, whatever the high-end hosts are playing on these days. This host is more in the range of like 80 FPS. And that means he has almost 0.7 seconds extra of leeway to actually hit the shrine, but that also means his run is going to be about 0.7 seconds slower. If everything else was the same, then a run on high FPS. Like this. So this is, as you can see, this is with a 1.8 water shield, this is a 49.2. If we scaled that up to this run, right? This is the 07 shrine, so one shrine faster, one shrine slower, sorry. So if we subtract 2.2 seconds of this would be a 52.3. And then if we subtract another 2 seconds, because this is one shrine slower, then we would be at about 50.2. So you can see this run is almost a whole second slower, even just from the shrine and the water shield on Hydro. Obviously the limbs are slower as well. That's why the 0.3 difference is there, because in this run you have all negative limbs, right? So except the first one. And in this run you have like positive limbs all the way through. So that's just these limbs alone are probably 0.3 or 0.4 time loss on their own, but the rest just comes from the water shield. 2.2 seconds difference between this run and this run, and then another 2 seconds just from the shrine, right? So, but But even if you subtract those 4.2 seconds, you're still over a second slower than this run, and that's just from limbs. As I said, that's about 0.4 seconds maybe, and then the rest is just from the shrine drift that's caused by the higher FPS in the first run. So yeah, I hope this makes things a bit more clear. I know this topic can be very confusing for some people. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments or DM me on Discord. Check out the wiki, and yeah, good luck in your hunts.